everyone. Welcome back to Shelley Live. I'm Shelley Carter, owner and practitioner for at Alder Healing Center and founder in Lombard, Illinois. And what we provide is holistic health here for the body, the mind, and the spirit. And so our shows are about health-related topics. And tonight's topic is cardiac health. And my guest tonight is Judy Feldhausen. So Judy, welcome to Shelley Live.
Thank you so much, Shelley. It's so great to be here, and you have such an amazing show. I did some research. I didn't tell you this before, but I did some research on your show, and I am absolutely honored to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm honored to have you here. I had asked Judy to send me her bio, and so she is a consumer wellness advocate, and her specialty area is with cardiac health, and she'll share about that in a moment. But there's two things that actually stood out to me that I wanted to talk about or share tonight. One is that she sits on the board of the RSDF, which she will share with you in a little bit, Foundation for Helping Parents Eliminate Stress with Their Children. So I think it's more of parents dealing with their stress, right?
Yes.
And then the second thing is her highest honors are being named Illinois Woman of Achievement. Like, come on, folks, that's like pretty cool. And recognized in the Cambridge Who's Who. So I'm so thrilled to have you, Judy. And what I'd like you to do is to just share a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you're at in life at this point.
Well, you know, I could probably talk for hours about that because to me, it's a journey that brought me to such a good place. And, you know, I was the kind of person that believed that I was healthy, that my family was healthy. You know, I think I was living in this little bubble. And one day I found out that that wasn't true.
Yeah. I think a lot of us like to think we're in this little bubble with not many other influences, and our world is perfect and until it gets rocked. So what had you realized that your bubble wasn't so perfect?
So I attended a meeting with a lot of company leaders, and in the back of the room, there was actually a device that had just been FDA approved. And the gentleman who had the device said, "Hey, I'm looking to practice with this thing. This is a medical screening device. Anybody want to do it?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, no problem. I'm going to screen great."
And I'm as healthy as a horse.
I'm as healthy as a horse. I just want to prove it to you. Because, you know, I really didn't have those markers. I didn't have high cholesterol. I didn't have high blood pressure. I never had any of those things that doctors, right, the medical profession says are important when you look at your health.
Right.
So I actually was screened on this device, and I found out that my arteries were about 25 years older than my chronological age.
Wow. So how did that show up in the test? Because I actually, for those of you, and you wouldn't know this, but Judy was actually at my office. Was it yesterday?
It was.
No, 2 days ago.
2 days ago? I don't. Yeah, 2 days ago.
And I know I've been through some stuff in my life, and I know my health is not perfect. It's been better than it has been in a long time. And so Judy came in. I even forgot you were going to be doing this test with me. And I was shocked at what actually showed up. So I'll let you share.
So, you know, interesting, Shelley, that you and I have a lot of similarities. So when I was screened, I was about the same place that you are now. That's where I was actually 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And 8 years ago, I should have been much better than you know I am now. But I found out that there's 7 different levels in this test, 1 through 7, 1 being the most ideal, 7 being call 911, I say.
Okay.
So I was all of a level 4. And level 4, it means that it's about 25 years older than your chronological age. So that was a wake-up call.
Wow. So then, okay, I'm not going to say my age, but that would make me
older by 25 years. When I was 25 years old, I actually walked into my office, and there was a sign, and it said "Happy Quarter Century." So, so that's what 25 years is. It's a quarter century.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and one of the things that Judy didn't know is that, and I just figured due to, I own my own business. I work a lot of hours. I'm always in the creative mode with one thing or another. And I just figured I just needed some time off. I needed a vacation. I needed a day off because even with the quarantine and everything, I was still working, not seeing clients, but working on either the back office or creating my classes and things virtually. Because if we do go into another, what they're saying, another quarantine or shutdown or whatever, I just wanted to have all my ducks in a row to be prepared that I could still thrive in the midst of that going on. And so I was still working every day. So I never really took a day off. So I'm thinking, okay, and I've noticed over time, my energy level just wasn't what it would be. And my recovery for working out just seemed to take weeks. And I would still be like achy or seem like I couldn't get my recovery back. I'll share a little bit later, but what is there a name for this device? I know that you actually work with or have worked with cardiologists with this equipment, right?
Yeah, so the device is called a Max Pulse. It was actually FDA approved in 2012.
Okay.
So medical professionals can actually use it in their offices, such as cardiologists, MDs, chiropractors that want to take insurance. And so, that is a possibility. However, for those people that don't take insurance, because of how I want to share this, I usually charge much less than what the medical doctors do in their office, because I really want, I have a mission to touch 1 million people.
Wow. How long ago did that start?
It started actually, 8 years ago.
Wow.
When
so what had your mission be that strong? Like, that's a lot of people, right?
That's a lot of people. But when I think about my story, so I didn't have the markers, but I kind of ignored my family history. So my family is riddled with heart disease.
Gotcha.
I lost my dad when I was 6.
6 years old?
Years old, with a massive heart attack. Wow. I lost my uncles. I have uncles that have lost limbs. My brother died at 42 with complications of diabetes. So it's in my family, and I just kind of forgot that. Because I'm thinking of me, this narrow vision, right?
That'll never be me.
That'll never be me. And so when I got that wake up call, I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? I have this too.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Now, would you relate diabetes with heart disease? To me, is like what came first, the chicken or the egg, when it comes to situations like this? Is the heart disease a contributor to the diabetes, or is the diabetes a contributor? I know it is a contributor to heart disease, but and then there's looking at stressor factors, and then like what you're saying, your family heritage or heritage and lineage, because there are some sects of people, not sex, but SECSs.
Yes.
But
that's on the show here, Sally.
there are some nationalities, thank you, where they're more prone to maybe diabetes or heart disease or certain illnesses just by their, what you would say, epigenetics, right?
Right, right. So yeah, so genetics definitely plays a role in that. And actually, I learned that through my studies that genetics transfer through 4 generations.
Really?
And after that, it only goes back for 4 generations. So that grandparent that you had from the 1600s, you don't have those markers anymore.
Hmm.
You only have those markers from 4 generations back. So they could have been good and strong as an ox and never been sick a day in their lives. But as we move forward and things happen, especially now with, the food isn't as good as it used to be. The ground isn't as good. We're not getting the vitamins. Our diet is lousy. Processed foods are really bad for us. And that's been about 2 or 3 generations, right?
Right, right. And it's really interesting. Well, my brain's like thinking of all these things that my clients come in with. And the biggest one that I hear all the time is, and they'll show me their lab reports and things like that. And they'll say, well, my doctor says that this is my, goes through my family line or my family generation. So that's why I'm dealing with. But then when you break it down and you look at the foods that you eat, and if you track that you're eating the same foods your parents ate and that your grandparents ate and your great grandparents ate, and they were having different health issues consistently through those lines, and you're having those issues, well, hey, maybe we need to look at tweaking some of your food choices and seeing how that may make a difference. And the cool thing I would say, even just a few tweaks can make a big difference in you being you out there actually seeing that can make a difference in changing history of families, so you're in a healthier place than your parents and your grandparents. So I'd like to hear from you guys out there. So if you have a comment, anything you're dealing with cardiac wise, health wise, drop it in the chat. We're looking to get some feedback and engage you in conversation. So let me know that you're here. So what would you say about that, Judy?
Yeah, absolutely. I love people asking me questions because I can respond specifically to a question, because I know I had so many questions when I first started. And to get to the end of that story is that I actually found something that is natural that I was able to use. And now my chronological age is 20 years younger than my biological age.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's pretty significant.
It's,
How many of you out there would like to have that? That's what I would call the fountain of youth.
And I think the energy level, being able to work out and to recover quickly, my heart rate comes back, really quickly when I work out, and I'm not as sore. The type of nutraceutical that I use is called nitric oxide therapy. And that is actually was in the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1998 for being able to prevent and reverse heart disease and strokes, which nobody knows about.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about nitric oxide and why it's important.
So nitric oxide is actually a gas that our cardiovascular system actually creates when we are younger. And it helps the distribution of oxygen and nutrients throughout the body. And, circulation is just so important. As we mature, our bodies stop producing it. And because of that, we start developing things like elevated cholesterol, our blood pressure, arteriosclerosis, hardening of the arteries. That's all because of the lack of nitric oxide in our bodies.
So what about, like, when we're looking at the different cultures, different lifestyles, what would you say would be the average age that you begin to see that decline?
Well, actually, when we hit puberty, everyone starts not producing it. And the type of the type of person that has a biggest challenge are actually Hispanics and Blacks here in the United States. But that doesn't mean that the rest of us aren't affected, because I know that I was, and I thought that I was eating okay. I was in the health business, so I should have known what I was doing.
well, yeah, we all should, right?
Exactly.
The thing I tell my clients is, like, they'll come in and say, I know something's off. I just don't know what that is. And so, like, we have the Zytoscan, which goes through 4 core body systems, your detoxification pathways, gastrointestinal, hormone and endocrine immune system, and 6 lifestyles. And even though things will show up with circulation, it doesn't show the heart, which is why I'm really glad that, what's the name of that device again?
It's called the Max Pulse.
The Max Pulse, that it actually shows the different variables that it shows. And I loved what you shared with me the other day, how doctors in the past, was it before the stethoscope?
Yeah, before the stethoscope, actually, ancient medical practitioners were able to diagnose disease from listening to the pulse. And that was lost with the advent of the stethoscope, because all they could hear, now the doctors could hear a boom, boom, right? The systolic and the diastolic beat. That's all that they can hear.
Right.
And so all that knowledge was gone. And so actually this device is from Asia.
Okay.
And Eastern medicine is different than Western medicine.
For sure.
They still had that knowledge, but wanted a way to use it. Yeah. So they actually developed a way to do the same thing with a computer and with electronics.
Yeah. How accurate would you say that is?
According to the people, the manufacturer that I've talked to, it's 2%.
2% accurate?
2% not accurate. It's 98%.
Okay, so 98. Okay.
Yeah, no, not 2% accurate.
So 90, which is why. So what type of, is there such a thing as a holistic cardiologist, or are most of the cardiologists open to this type of device?
That's a great question. There are holistic cardiologists, and I have actually worked with holistic cardiologists. Those cardiologists that I worked with were ones that were uneasy with the way the CDC was treating heart disease. And so they actually left the main line and became holistic cardiologists. Okay. What I have found and I have sold a cardiologist, but it has to be really a special type of cardiologist, not one that wants to look at you as a disease of the heart, but rather than a person as a whole, and get to that systemic problem that will help our bodies heal themselves, so that we don't use a Band-Aid of drugs that are going to take side effects. A little bit ago, you mentioned about diabetes and heart disease, and what's first, the chicken or the egg? Right. Well, what we have found is those people that are on statins, actually, they die of heart attacks. Diabetics on statins die of heart attacks. They don't die of diabetes, because what happens is statins destroy the heart muscle. Okay, I'm speechless, because
I guess I was not expecting to hear that. And so, and the thing about it is too, is that the FDA has approved it. But then I think even with other drugs, I had a lady come into the office today, and she's on a lot of Norco, Oxycontins. And for those of you who don't know or not familiar with, it will completely back up your system in terms of your digestive tract and your bowel movements or your poop and stuff like that. So people get sick then because they're so backed up. You have all those toxins floating
Sure.
through the system. So it's in looking at what are some of the ways we can keep the things open and flowing in terms of the your colon and keeping your colon happy. I actually had a client who was on so many pain meds, and his wife called me. They were in the hospital, and I'm like, you're in the hospital, there's not a whole lot I can do. And she said, come anyway, see what you can do. So I came, and he was so backed up. He looked like he was 12 months pregnant. He actually died the next day.
Oh.
So sad, so sad. And it's like, it makes me want to cry.
I know.
Because there's hope in ways that are natural. And I'm not poo-pooing medicine, because I think there's the right time and place for it. But it's like sometimes it's finding that balance, that dance of marrying the two together. And or we have the medical cannabis community that comes here twice a month, where people can get their medical cannabis card, and they actually have it's a 3-month program, 90-day program, to help people who are on the opioids and on the Oxycontins and the Norcos to actually transition off of that onto the medical cannabis to help them, because those pain meds, they just keep upping them up and upping them up and increasing the dosage, and it really doesn't relieve the pain. It just numbs the person so they're not feeling it as bad. And so I was really glad to meet Judy, because cardiac health is the number one, we'll say, killer that's out there. And then today we got in the conversation of these things.
Yeah.
And I know that this is going to be probably controversial for a lot of people, but guess what? As human beings, we weren't made to breathe in CO2. We were made to breathe in oxygen. And if you're constantly breathing in CO2, what's going to happen?
Yeah. So our bodies need oxygen. Oxygen, it's primary for life. It feeds our brain.
Mm-hmm.
And it also helps our organs function properly. They need oxygen and nutrition to function properly. And that is delivered by our blood. That's why I'm so, so adamant about having good blood flow. But we have to have good deliverables of oxygen into our bodies. Absolutely.
So we're going to take a minute and we're going to dive a little deeper into the oxygen and the nitric oxide and why it's important. So we'll be right back with you. So welcome back. Yes, we are open. We're seeing clients in-house, and we have hired on some new staff for colon hydrotherapy. So we have expanded hours in that. Still trying to minimize because we're not 100% fully open yet. My course, Basic Energy 101, is up, and registration ends the 22nd of July. So there's still time to join us in. Friday nights are meditation by design, which are at 7 p.m. And I'm just getting notes from people, please don't change the time. Okay, I'll consider that. So we won't have tomorrow night. We're going to have a new look and a new feel to the program. So next Friday, please join us for meditation by design. And Judy, back to oxygen, nitric oxide.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So we were talking about not producing nitric oxide as an adult, but what happens when we don't produce it is that our arteries start getting clogged, they get stiff, and they don't deliver the oxygen and the nutrients that are needed. So the idea is to get that back into our bodies in therapeutic amounts, and that was what the Nobel Prize in 1998 was about, is how to have nitric oxide actually reform into our cardiovascular system again, so that it can not just do a good job, but it can repair the arteries. So we have something called the endothelium, and the endothelium is the lining inside of our arteries. And that lining gets damaged as we age. You know, you figure if you have a highway and after a few years, what happens to the highway?
Gets bumpy, cracked.
Yeah, it
needs repair.
It needs repair.
Yeah.
And what happens in our arteries is exactly that. But what happens is those little cracks that are there are great places for things to gather in. And so things like cholesterol sees this little crack and goes, oh, I can rest now. I'm going to go and just hang out over there in this little crack. And guess what? I want a friend to hang out with me. And so more and more cholesterol gets stuck on the inside of our arteries because all those friends are having a party, right?
That's not the kind of party I want.
Absolutely not. So nitric oxide therapy, one of the things that it does is it makes that endothelium, that inside of the blood vessel, smooth. And when it's smooth, there's no place for cholesterol to hang on.
So if that part gets hardened, am I hearing you right where you say that it can get soft and pliable again?
Well, that's one of the other things, yes, that nitric therapy does, is it softens the endothelium. So it not only makes it smooth, but it makes it soft. So then the arteries are soft. And the brand of nitric oxide therapy that I prefer actually has vitamin D3 and K2 in it. And that helps the calcium not get stuck in the arteries, and it helps the calcium not make the arteries stiff.
Well, that's good to know, because I do know, because one of the things that we talk a lot about is the alkalinity of the body or the over-acidity of the body. And when your body's in an acidic state, it will actually leach calcium from your bones.
Exactly.
So, so that will help to actually buffer, is what you're saying?
So the vitamin D3 is good to absorb calcium. It helps calcium absorption.
Okay.
And vitamin K, actually, I call it a guide. It guides it toward the bones. So I've actually had clients that have actually had osteoporosis. And when they went in for their checkup, once they were on nitric oxide therapy for a while, their bone, the calcium in their bones has actually improved also.
Really?
It gets out of the blood vessel and goes into the bone where it's supposed to go.
So how long did it take before they actually noticed the difference in that? Because that's a pretty powerful statement to be able to make.
It is powerful. And I wish I had an exact answer. Yeah. But we are all different. We are all at different stages in our life. We heal at different rates. But one of the things that we ask people is to use nitric oxide therapy for 90 days.
Okay.
And within 90 days, you should see a difference. And if not, keep going for 120 days, because I have a personal guarantee that if there is not a difference in that amount of time, that we take the product back.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, that's a pretty darn good guarantee.
Yeah.
I don't know any place where you have 120 days.
I don't either. I don't either. And I know, Shelley, that I gave you a sample. Can you share?
You gave me 2 packs.
I gave you 2 samples. Yes, I did.
Absolutely, I can share. So, was it 2 days ago, a couple days ago? I've lost track of time. So when I first took it, it was the middle of the day, and I'm busy doing what I'm doing, and I'm leaving the office, and I'm feeling a little bit tired. So I go home and I take a little bit of a nap, and then I wake up and I'm like, oh, I got all this energy. Now what am I going to do? So then I took just a little bit more, and because I wanted to save the next pack for the next day. And I woke up and normally I struggle to get out of bed. And with a little bit I had the night before, I know you had warned me, like you might want to be careful because you might be up at night or have a hard time. I had a hard time getting back to sleep or getting to sleep. But even with that, I woke up at 6 a.m. Okay, so I'm telling on myself. Okay, so I moved over a year ago, and I still have boxes on boxes on boxes that I had not gone through. Now, the primary reason for that, at least the excuse I gave, is because I do work a lot and I have a lot on my plate. But what I realized is that part of it is when I get home, I just drop and go to bed and wake up and I do it all over again, right? Mm-hmm. So what I realized, so here's what happened. So I wake up, it was probably before 6, and I'm like, I'm awake now. What can I do? And I'm like, oh, I've got all those boxes out there I can start going through. So I went through actually half the boxes and unloaded them, and then had them taken to my car so I can put them in the dumpster. That was the coolest thing, because part of why I didn't go through the boxes, I didn't have the energy. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have the focus to get through them. Other things took precedence, but it was and that was, let's see, at 6 o'clock, I took my full second, what was left of, which is most of the packet. I took all of that. And so my boyfriend, he woke up and he's standing there and he's like, I'm like, I said, did I wake you up? Is something wrong? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm in shock. And I said, what? He's like, you're going through the boxes, because it's been an irritant for him. So it was kind of funny because, well, really wasn't funny. And I said, but what I need you to do is load up my car for me. He was so delighted to load up my car for me. I've never seen him so excited. So now I still have half the boxes to go through, but I realized that I haven't had the kind of energy. It's like I would wake up and early, but it's different getting up early and feeling good versus feeling good and you want to do something. Mm-hmm. Or you have the energy to do something. So that
you can even think of doing something. Sometimes we don't even, our mind is so tired that we don't even have the thought until, I should have, right? I should have.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm always in some kind of creative mode, and I love to color. But I love to color. I haven't even done that in a long time, just because I didn't have the energy to do it. So it's and it's only been a couple days. I got my products today. So excited. Yeah. So and I'm just noticing the warmth and the energy, and it's not like this kind of energy that spikes you up like caffeine. The other thing I noticed is I haven't had any coffee either. I haven't needed it.
Wow.
And I feel good.
Well, and that could be because the third thing that nitric oxide therapy does is it acts as a vasodilator. And basically what that does is it relaxes the blood vessel and kind of opens them up immediately so that blood flows more efficiently through the body.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed like on my acupuncturist saw for the first time yesterday, the right side of my leg looks like literally one huge blood bruise. And so we're talking about releasing some of that stagnant energy. So the first thing I noticed is that was really aching that first night. And so I thought, okay, that's like the vessels haven't, that I know that's stagnant blood.
Yeah.
And that it's probably taken something for my blood to like begin to, when you open up vessels that have probably, because even, it's the weirdest thing. I feel like I'm kind of talking all over the place. But it's like when I move, because I massage my own legs because sometimes they hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go to move them, that the muscle tissue underneath is a lot less flexible than the muscle tissue on the left leg. I have a whole lot of movement than the right leg, not so much. And so, so what I noticed was what felt like as the blood was trying to move through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it actually kind of hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Now it doesn't right now because probably what needed to be open to flow has opened. So it's flowing. And I'm excited to see how it looks in a few weeks. I took some pictures.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I had actually had a customer who has neuropathy, and he was to the point where he was thinking of getting a wheelchair because it hurt. It didn't hurt. He couldn't feel his legs anymore. And he was afraid that he was going to fall. And so he started on the nitric oxide therapy, and he called complaining. He said, "This stuff doesn't work." And I'm like, "Okay, what's wrong?" He said, "My feet hurt so much."
Yeah.
And they're even, it's like it's on pins and needles all the time. And I'm like, hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Yeah. Be excited about that.
Yeah, that's the blood.
So how's he doing now with it?
Oh, he's doing great. He's doing great. He's actually starting to go out, not now, but he was before COVID. He was going out to restaurants and stuff that he hadn't done in years.
How rewarding is that?
Yeah.
I'm going to say the other thing that I've noticed, because I've had respiratory issues since I was little, is in the heat, I'm finding it easier to breathe, because usually when it's hot and it's humid, I just feel this heaviness like an elephant sitting on my chest. And so what I'm finding is it's much easier to breathe. So I'm really excited to see what continues to happen. So stay tuned, guys. So Judy, any last words you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
Well, so what I'd like to say is no matter where your health is, some of us have really good health. Some of us have really bad health. It doesn't matter where we start. It's really taking those tiny steps every day. And what we did yesterday really doesn't matter anymore, and what's going to happen in the future, we can't control that, right?
Yeah.
But we have a responsibility, I believe, to take care of ourselves today and start on whatever that process is for you, no matter what it is, whether it's giving up a food or adding a food, which is what I prefer. I prefer to add things to my diet because then I don't worry about what's not in it. To add things to my diet, to find a supplement that really is going to do what it says it's going to do.
Yeah.
And to really just be an advocate for yourself.
Yeah, so important. So important. As as my mom was before my mom had COPD, and before she got to that point of passing, and I would always want to go to her doctor visits with her, and my parents were like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. And I said, why not? And they're like, because you don't know how to keep your mouth shut. And I'm like, but somebody's got to be your advocate. Somebody's got to be there to ask the important questions. If you don't ask, then how are you going to know? And they don't just divulge everything to you. So you need someone who's going to speak up and advocate for you. And especially when you're not feeling good, you're not always clearly thinking about what you need and what's important. The other thing I want to say to what you brought up is, our responsibility to take care of ourselves and how important it is to take ownership of honoring ourselves with healthy foods. And, I look at, the 80-20 rule, 80% healthy, 20%, okay, so life happens and you want to have fun sometimes. And that may include a drink, or for me, the ice cream or whatever that might be. But when you look at the quality of our foods today, 9 apples today, I think it's 9, it may even be more than that now, equals the value nutritional wise of 1 apple back in the times of our ancestors. And so, and I'm bringing this up because a lot of clients will come in and it's like, well, I should be getting my nutrition from my food. In theory, yes, that would be the case, but our foods are so nutrient depleted. We don't put what we need back in their soils. And you look at the pollution in the air, the EMFs, radio waves, microwaves, then now we've got 5G and we've got COVID and whatever you can do to keep your immune system strong and healthy. Wouldn't you want to do that, guys? Really, wouldn't you? And so, do you want to share what that product is?
Sure. My product of choice is called Arginine Plus.
Okay.
It's actually listed in the physician's desk reference, so it is recognized by physicians all over the world, even though it's not a pharmaceutical drug. It's a nutraceutical, which means that it's manufactured to pharmaceutical grade standards, but it doesn't have the other things in it.
Right.
So
it's
all
food-based than I look at that as more food-based versus synthetic, something like that.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And our people actually visit the farms and look at how they are growing the crops that they are purchasing, and make sure that the farm next door is not using pesticides, because you don't know what the prevailing winds are going to do.
Yeah, that's so equally as important. So, so Judy's going to be coming to Alder Healing Center to do the, what's the name of the device again?
Max Pulse.
Max Pulse. So for those of you who are interested in a 15-minute session with Judy, put a yes down in the chat, give me a thumbs up, or give us a call at 630-328-3928. The scan takes about 3 minutes and it's very quick and easy. And then you have a real sense of what's going on with your heart, and some really great tools to go home with to have yourself be in a happier, healthier place. So again, that's Alder Healing Center, 630-328-3928. And we thank you for joining us under the alder tree. Thank you, Judy, for being with us today. And we look forward to seeing you guys next Thursday, and have a blessed week. We'll see you real soon.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Shelley.
You're welcome. Just in time for the chimes to go off again. So stay on for just a minute, okay?
Sure.